motivation. So today we are going to cover work motivation. You can have the readings on the LMS website. And on Thursday, we are going to do in-class activity on work motivation. And I'm going to give you some time to work on your team project. And then we are going to take a quiz. So this is the comprehensive view about work motivation in organization. So because this is only one lecture about human motivation, I'm going to focus on the particular components that may be useful for developing your training program. So I think there will be like 4 different theories that we are going to cover. So how the work motivation fits? So work motivation fits in the job performance models, right? Campbell's job performance models. Job performance is predicted by declarative knowledge and procedural knowledge and skills and motivation, right? And knowledge and skill is predicted by individual difference in their personality, abilities, and interests, their training, experience, and education, but you need to have motivation to perform that particular task, to demonstrate a performance, right? So that's why there's a multiplication function. Individual difference multiplied by motivation is going to predict the job performance in organization. Right? So if the job performance is failing, it may be due to their knowledge, or it can be there due to their skills, or it can be there due to their motivation. So same thing here, motivation multiplied by ability and subtract situational constraint, because motivation, just because you have a high motivation, you have great ability, doesn't mean that you will end up performing good, right? You may have situational constraint, like your nasty boss or coworker or your health, and those kind of things will influence and determine your final work performance. So when we think of motivation, this is a initial studies. So initial study of behavioralism, perhaps Skinner's studies, right? So in those particular studies, they usually use the animals, right? They ask the animals to engage in particular behavior, like press the lever in this case, and so that every time they press the lever and they get the reward, right? And then every time, and then so that they are more likely to engage in those behavior. So reward, learning happening. Reward, change in behavior is happening, right? So reward and also punishment also works similarly. Like punishment, the stop, particular behavior stop. So if you give the mouse electronic shocks, in this case, the mouse is more likely to stop those behavior. They're more likely to not engage in those behavior. So this is an example of Thomas maze, which was one of those initial experiments that goes from behaviorism to cognitive perspectives. Okay? So let me explain these things. In this maze, you put the mouse, right, every day for 17 days. And for the first condition, the group 1, every time the mouse get to the end, they get the food. So they get the reward. So they are going to learn how to get to the end of the maze pretty quickly, right? Reward, and you change in behavior is happening, learning is happening. Group 3, no reward. So Every time the mouse reached the end of the maze, they were just taken out. There's no food given. The study, the condition that was interesting was second one, the delayed reward one. So for the first 10 days, every time they get to the end, there's no reward. Right? So, but the day 11 and forward, every time they get to the end, they were given a food. So they get reward. Right? So from the strict behavioralism perspective, for the group 2, learning is not happening in day 1 and 10. They're not really learning anything for the first 10 days for the group 2, right? And then learning happenings finally after that you put a reward. So change in behavior will be happening from day 11 forward. So that was the idea of behavioralism. But what they found was something interesting. Something interesting was that, as you can see, the green ones are the ones that were getting rewarded every time. You can see the learning curve, right? So they're getting faster to go to the end. And look at the blue line. Blue line is condition 2. Okay? So they were acting as dumb as the no reward mouse. They're not getting faster that much, right? But once they're getting reward, look at the blue graph, right? So they're getting super fast. What's happening? Learning happening that fast? Huh? Within one day? Huh? Right? So what they found was that this little mouse knew it. They knew the structure of the maze, right? They knew the map. They know how to go through the maze quickly. They had a mental map in their head. But with the reward, it gets activated in day 10, right? So it's not like learning was not happening at all. The learning was happening even without the reward. And once they build a mental map and the reward activated, and then they become supercharged and they behave. So that was the implication of this study. So behavioralism model, stimulus, something happened, black box, we don't know, and response. Cognitive model, stimulus, and there's a mental set, and then they behave. So once we understand how this mental set is structured, then we can motivate them to give them the right reward to the mental set. Right? So that was the cognitive model, and that's the model that IO psychologists are using to activate workers' motivation. The one theory is a VI theory. In VI theory, motivation is equal to VI, combination of V, I, and E. Right? So let's just quickly write down your motivation problem. Okay, I'm not motivated to go to Thursday class, blah, 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 right? Or I'm not motivated to go to the gyms this week, right? Or I'm not motivated to attend the extra meetings with my extracurricular club this weekend. Right? So just write it down. Just write it down. I will give you like 10 seconds. Because we will find out that that motivation have three components. That lack of motivation is in fact has three components. People are, so based on this theory, they assume people are rational beings. And then they choose the behavior and they have a lot of different choices. You can attend the gym, you can go to the class, you can attend, you can have some time, you can spend some time with your friends, right? Or you can have some me times, blah, blah, blah. All those behaviors, right? People have those behavioral choices. And then among those choices, they choose the behavior that have maximum level of V, I, and E. So what is VIE then? E is, can I do this? Right? Can I attend the class? Can I go to the gym? Right? So that is the expectancy. Do I have a capability? Right? If I put effort, can I do this? Or that is impossible for me to do it. And then that is expectancy. And then once I do that, once I attend the Thursday class, do I learn anything useful? Right? Do I learn anything useful for the final? Or that will be complete waste of my time. So that is instrumentality. Once I attend the gym, am I lose weight? Am I going to gain muscles? Or that will be complete waste of my performance going to the gym. Right? No matter what, how many times I go to the gym, I weight the same for entire year. Then that means the lack of instrumentality, right? There's no relationship between my behavior and the outcome that I want. And balance. Or it can be the balance problems. Okay, I can attend the class. Once I attend the class, I know I'm going to learn something useful for the final exam, but how much value do I put on the final exam? Is that really important? Because I'm getting all A from the midterm and then team project and the weekly quiz, and the final is only like 20%. So not really important, so I don't really value it. So your balance, it could be the problems, right? Okay, I can attend the gym. So, and then once I attend the gym, I know I will gain the muscles and then I get healthy or I will lose weight. But how much of those health goal is important to me? I don't think the health goal is important to me because I have more important career goals. Right? Losing weight is not going to get me a job in the organization that I want to. Right? I need to better work on my classes or internship instead of going to the gym and getting fit. So that is a balance problem. So the reason that you don't go to the class, you don't go to the gym, is combination of expectancy or instrumentality or the balance. So this is another example. Let's say that in this organization, employees hardly help other coworkers or newcomers. When newcomers are coming into the organization, they were just left. They were just left dying, or they just left there alone. They need to figure out themselves. I once been in this organization. When I was in Australia, I was surprised that no one is helping me. I'm not particularly needy, but just there's no structure. No structure, no person, no information was given, whatever, right? So there are particular organizations that are like that. So in this case, it can be due to employee have low expectancy, so that they don't think they have a capability to help newcomers. Oh, I'm so busy, or I'm not really good performer, so I don't think I have authorities or time to help newcomers, right? So that can be expectancy problems, or it can be instrumentality problems where, okay, I have capability and time, but if I help, do I get the appreciation or recognition from my colleague? I don't think so. No one cares. They don't recognize my service, right? So if the culture is like that, your instrumentality will be pretty low, so you're not going to help newcomers. Or it can be due to the balance problems. Okay, I can help, and then if I help, I will get the recognition, but I don't care about recognition. I only care about the money that I'm getting at the end of the month. Like, especially my performance bonus is important. So I don't really value how other people see me or whatever. In fact, I don't want to get promoted either. I just want to keep this job as little as possible, do as little as possible, and just go home. So you don't really value the recognition from supervisor or colleague. So that's maybe why the employees are not really helping the newcomers. Okay. So this is another examples, right? So you can check your own understanding whether this is expectancy, instrumentality, or balance problems. Let me know if you have any questions about these questions. This is another example, right? So this is VI theory explaining why people are not really putting effort into high performance. So maybe because they think they don't have capability, or maybe because even if they perform, they have capability, they perform well, that it's not going to lead to any foreseeable concrete outcomes like pay raise or promotion, or because they don't really value pay raise or promotions. Okay, every theory have problems. This theory have some limitations. People are not always making decisions based on VIE. We all knows, right? So many times or sometimes, depending on your personality, people make decisions based on their emotions, for example. Then, like, VIE doesn't matter. I work on it. I go to industrial psychology class because I love psychology. You have some problem, some different problem, but yeah. So I love it. Right? You go to the gym because you love to going there. You like spending time there because that's your habit, right? So not all behavior or majority of behavior is not determined by VIE. So that is limitation. But that doesn't mean that this theory is useless. This theory is very useful, but it has limitations. All right, goal setting theory. Goal setting theory is saying that, let me just explain this to you clearly. Specific difficult goal is better than ambiguous or easy goals, right? So my goal is getting A on every quiz in this class. That is very specific and difficult goal, right? So this goal, students who set these types of specific difficult goal will perform higher level than those students who set the goal like, I'm going to do my best for every quiz in this class, or specific easy goal like, I'm going to get 60, or I'm going to just pass this every quiz in this class. Okay, so that is the essence of the goal setting theory. And why specific difficult goal is better than do your best goal? It sounds like do your best goal is the best. How can a person can do the best than do your best, right? So here is the mechanism that I explained to you. People who set specific difficult goal are more focused. They know they need to get an A. The effort is intensified, and then they're more likely to persist in their study because it's difficult and specific. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to attainable unless you develop some strategies for it, right? If that is easy, you just do it, you can just pass. And you just do it as you usually do, and you can just pass, right? But let's set up like crazy goals. Like, okay, within like 2 years, I'm going to get an admission to Harvard Graduate School of IO Psychology or something. The crazy goals, right? Specific difficult goals. In 2 years, I'm going to get into graduate school in Harvard Psychology, right? Then that's like, whew, right? Because it's very specific, you can come up with some strategies for it because you just do it as you usually do. You're not going to go to graduate school, right? So you're going to come up with some strategy. Oh my God, I'm going to reinvent myself within like one year. That's not easy. So what would be the strategies? So you're more likely to come up with strategies to work on it, right? So that's how you're going to. That's why specific difficult goal increase your performance. Okay. And then why specific difficult goal is better than ambiguous goal is because the specific difficult goal has the feedback, the knowledge of result attached to it. So if let's say your goal is A, okay? And then you took the test, took the quiz, and you got a B. Oh, I failed my goal. So you're more likely to intensify your effort. You're more likely to direct your attention to the task. You're more likely to persist. You're more likely to come up with strategy. Okay, maybe I need to have consultation with professors, right? You perform and then you get a result. Oh, now you got the A minus. Okay, so that is A? No, it's not A. It's still A minus. So you're going to put effort, blah 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 blah, right? But if your goal is do your best, right? You do your best and perform, and you got 80 on the quiz. Doesn't have feedback attached to it. You just have some vague idea of, was it my best? Feel like that was best. I put so much effort into it. Maybe 80 is my best. I was pretty tired, right? So there's no clear feedback attached to the goal of do your best, ambiguous goal, so that it's not going to give you the push to work harder, continuously, focus your attention, those kind of things. So that's why goal setting theory works. Okay? Okay, critique on goal setting theory. Commitment is important. If you set the goal for other people, like, oh, your mom is setting goal for you, right? Your mom is telling you, okay, your goal is going to graduate school in Harvard in 2 years. Have no effect, right? Bye, mom. Right? Now, no effect, because you have to be committed to the goals. So commitment is very important. Effort-based task where you just put effort, you can perform better, or the easy task, goal setting theory works really good. But the task is more complex, require creative thinking and complex thinking, more difficult, then goal setting theory still works, but not as well as the easy or effort-based task. So it's less effective because it's difficult to set a specific difficult goal for example, like creative task. Complex thinking tasks involve a lot of different components into it. So that's also difficult to set up specific difficult goals. Self-efficacy. The Bandura. We all know it, right? Do I need to explain to it? Maybe yes. I will quickly explain to you. So self-efficacy is different from self-esteem. Self-esteem is a more broad concept of, okay, am I worth of human beings? Right? My self-worth. But self-efficacy is more about the specific task. So you may have high self-esteem in general, but you may have low self-efficacy in swimming. I have low self-efficacy in Chinese. I learned Chinese, but I'm not really good. So that's low self-efficacy. Okay. So self-efficacy, because it's specific to the task, it predicts job performance. That's why IO psychologists study this concept of self-efficacy. Okay. So Bandura was dealing with a phobia patient. Phobia patient is, for example, their fear is so high, malfunctioning, so that it's preventing them from enjoying their regular life. Like the person is phobia for airplane. So no matter where he goes, he need to take a bus. So he never travel overseas, right? Or he has phobia for dogs. So the dog is in like 50 meters away, but this person is panting and panicking, and then try to run as fast as she can or he can, and then so that like maybe he get into the accident because he was such in fear. So those are examples of phobia patient. When you look at those phobia patients, it's not that they cannot do it. They have a capability. They have hand to touch the dog. They have leg to go into the airplane. They have bodily function. They can do it. They have a capability. But the essence was that they don't believe in themselves. They feel not confident. Right? No, I cannot do it. I cannot do it. Right? Dog is over there, but no. Right? So they have this fear. They're coming from I cannot do it. So that's why Bandura say knowing what to do. Okay, you touch the dog knowing what to do, or having capability is not enough. Having ability is not enough. You need to believe in your ability. Believe that you have the ability. So that's different things, right? So how can you increase someone's self-efficacy? There's 4 different ways. The first one is mastery experience. So you have phobia patient, for example. So one day the dog is 50 meters away, and the next week the dog is 25 meters away, and the next week the dog is 10 meters away, and then after like 6 months, dog is right in front of you, and the patient knows that nothing is happening. I can do this. I can be in proximity with dogs. So building this mastery experience give them a confidence that it's okay. The dog is nearby. So that is a mastery experience. Modeling is seeing a similar other success. So let's say that you have you have a failure experience in the internship interviews. You fail like 3 times in 1 month, right? You feel like failure, right? And then you talk to your friend, and then your friend says, "Hey, I know my other friend. She failed 5 times. But she did some more practice. She attended like study group for interview. and at the end, she got the job that she really wanted, right? So that is role modeling. You see similar others succeed. That's building up your confidence. That's what people like to hear. People don't want to hear those genius earning billion dollars per year because that's not relatable. It's not similar others. People want to see the underdogs performing better at the end because that's role modeling. That's self-efficacy boosting for them. Social persuasion. Those people who have low self-efficacy, they don't believe in themselves. Those people who don't believe in themselves often are caught up in the pessimistic point of view. Everything sounds like a failure for them. They feel like I'm such a loser just because you're failing consecutively for a couple of years, right? So if that is happening, what is going to be helpful is some kind of social persuasion. If you have someone close to you, like your friends or parents, who believe in you, your mom say, "Hey, I believe in you." Right? Remember, you had some difficulty when you learn how to play piano at the first year, but with practice you got better, right? I think you have capability to overcome this challenge. I think you can put effort into it. Because I think you'll be successful, right? So the person is more likely to, okay, if that person who knows me so well believe in me, maybe I can try. Maybe I try, right? So that is the boosting self-efficacy tactic. The last thing is physiological state. If you feed well and slept well, basically if you are healthy, then you're more likely to have high self-efficacy. So if you have statistic class that you feel is very difficult, but so that you have low self-efficacy, what will help you is that you sleep well a day before and then eat a good breakfast before you come to the class. Then you suddenly feels like you have a capacity to deal with the challenge. Right? You're not going to freak out with the difficulties, less likely to freak out with difficult statistical problems, right? So that's a great way to boost your self-efficacy. Okay, so problems with self-efficacy. So critics on self-efficacy is that self-efficacy, when it's too high, people have too high of expectation of themselves. Oh, I will be the best one. I'll be the number one in Korea University. And then they realize, oh, everyone else here is genius, right? So that they feel discouraged and then they ignore, bullshit, right? They ignore the negative feedback. So they're not going to put an effort into it, right? So that is negative side effect of having too high of self-efficacy. So what would be recommended amount of self-efficacy? That would be great if you have self-efficacy that match with your real abilities, right? So that we call efficacy calibration. So that would be good if you have realistic perspective about your own capability. And for the group literature, if you have too high of group efficacy, they may engage in groupthink, where they're seeking a consensus and then preventing other people's dissenting opinions in group discussion. Right. So self-efficacy is malleable, so it can be changeable, and then it influences the human performance. So high efficacy. If you have high efficacy, you're more likely to set the goal that is specific and challenging. That will lead to better performance. The last one is goal orientation. So goal orientation is from the idea of the Dweck. So Carol Dweck was educational psychologist, and she studied children's children solving math problems. She observed children of the same ability level, same IQ level, solving difficult math problems. And then she found two types of children. When they experience challenging math problems, and once they experience difficult math problems, they giggle. Interesting. And then they put more effort. Right? They try to come up with new strategy. Right? And then they try to learn. And then they seek more challenging problems. Other group, the second group of children, they're frustrated when they didn't get challenging problems right? And then they decrease their effort. They feel ashamed. And then they try to find easy one. They run away from the difficult questions. So what we call maladaptive reactions. Right? So she said it depending on their goal orientation. So children can have learning goal orientation where their focus is on learning from the task and master the task. So they are task focused. The goal is to learn from the task. Versus the performance goal orientation children, their goal is perform better than others. So their goal is evaluation from others, getting positive evaluation from others. So when you have performance goal orientation, you will see they are frustrated, they decrease the effort, they try to find some easy ones. But if you have learning orientation, you're more likely to put effort when you see the difficult problems, and then they try to come up with different strategies, right? So they have positive attitude toward the setbacks. The directs that it is because of children have different belief about intelligence. So if you have entity theory, such that you believe intelligence is fixed, you're more likely to take on performance goal. So you want to perform better than others. And if you have high efficacy, you will show mastery-oriented behavior because you think you can show off your ability to others. Oh, let me solve more difficult problems, blah blah blah. But if you have low efficacy, like a challenging math subject, like differential equation, it's not just like 1 + 2 anymore. It's much more difficult, right? In that case, you are more likely to avoid challenge. You are more likely to show lack of persistence. You're more likely to have helplessness and frustrations. You're not going to learn. You're not going to improve your performance from the task. Okay? If you have incremental theory, such that you believe that intelligence is can be changed, you're more likely to take a learning goal, regardless whether you are you're confident or not confident. You're going to show mastery response, so that you're more likely to seek out challenge. You're more likely to show high persistence for a difficult task, such that you are more likely to improve your performance over time, and you're more likely to satisfied with your performance as well, because you put effort into it and you're proud of yourself. This is one study. This is study. It's showing that, let's say if you're smart, would that be better for you to take performance goal so that you show off your ability to others? Or is that better for you to take on learning goal? Right? So you try to learn from the task and seek out the challenge from the task. So this study showed that if you are smart, you are much better off if you take a learning goal, because being smart, having high IQ, means that you have greater mental capability, greater mental capacity to learn new things so that you can fully utilize your potential. You have high IQ, you have big brain, you can use it. If you can utilize your brain more if you have learning orientation. By utilizing brain, by seeking out the challenge, you will improve your performance over time. But if you're smart and your performance goal, then you focusing on showing off your performance to others, right? You're not going to utilize your brain that much because your focus will be showing off, so that you're more likely to choose the task that is easy to show off. So easy task. So your brain will be just being not really, so probably underutilized. So, and then you accumulate over time and you're not going to perform well at the end, right? So that if you are smart, it's better for you to take on learning goal, and then you are going to perform much higher level than if you take a performance goal, because performance goal, your choice of goal will be easy goals. Okay? All right, so that was it. It was a short lecture, but I noticed I speak quite fast. So, and then, so you just need to read those chapters that talk about these theories, and then focusing on the content of the slide for the quiz and then finals, because the chapters, sometimes they talk about BI theory, but they also talk about something that is not really useful, like person as machine, person as scientist. Those things are not, I'm not going to cover these things. But yeah. Okay, see you on Thursday. Bye.